Hare Krishna.
Just out for a walk, Friday evening, and we're in Madison Square Gardens.
The Madison Square Garden.
This is Madison Square's Gardens.
In New York.
In New York. And Madison Square Gardens, like, venue is just over there. So.
Yeah.
In fact, the Empire State Building is that way, but you can really get it in the picture. But anyhow, so we're continuing our reading.
Yeah. Canto 4, chapter 21, text 27. We're basically, like, if you remember, in the middle of this really long purport.
So we'll read the verse again, and then we'll
read the whole thing again.
Just the verse.
All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Right. This is a recap of the verse only, text 27. My dear respectful ladies and gentlemen, according to the authoritative statements of Shastra, there must be a supreme authority who is able to award the respective benefits of our present activities. Otherwise, why should there be persons who are unusually beautiful and powerful, both in this life and in the life after death? So now we're going to go to the part of the purport, the paragraph, if you're following with your books by any chance. The paragraph starts, the most important point in human civilization. So, the most important point in human civilization is that while one engages in different occupational duties, he must try to satisfy the Supreme Lord by execution of such duties. That is the highest perfection of life. Swanusti tasya dharmasya samside haritushana. By discharging one's prescribed duty, one becomes very successful in life if he simply satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The vivid example is Arjuna, and we were just talking about this, weren't we? He was a Kshatriya, his duty was to fight, and by executing his prescribed duty, he satisfied the Supreme Lord and therefore became perfect. Everyone should follow this principle. The atheists who do not are condemned in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, text 19, by the following statement: Tam aham dvisasta kururan samsa resu naradana. I read that really badly.
If you're following in your books, please just pretend like you didn't hear me.
In this verse, it is clearly said that persons who are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are the lowest of mankind and are very mischievous. Under the regulative principles of the Supreme, such mischievous persons are thrown into the darkest region of material existence and are born of asuras or atheists. Birth after birth, such asuras go still further down, finally to animal forms, like those of tigers or similar ferocious beasts. Thus, for millions of years, they have to remain in darkness without knowledge of Krishna. Scary. Scary, no?
It's like my coworkers abroad, so like...
Scary.
One more time for good luck. Scary. Yeah. The thing is that, most people aren't scared. That's the actual problem. Like Prabhupada said, we don't have a healthy enough fear of the material energy. And
but I tell you, people do start to get scared, but as they age, and death comes knocking, and even not just that literally death comes knocking, but as you age and then you look around, like we're sitting in this park now and you can see different ages and genders.
Mostly young though.
Yeah, and you kind of think, oh, I used to be like that.
Yeah, one of the things in this is that it says that we'll be cast into the lowest depths of hellish existence. And, and it's always this thing because of course there are hellish planets, but it's also a hellish existence to be put into an animal body. And Prabhupada specifically calls that out here by saying that if you take birth in like a tiger's body, that it's like finally down to forms like those of tigers or similar ferocious beasts, and then you remain in darkness without knowledge of Krishna. So hellish is existent. That's why, what's that verse? Neha Bikramanashosi Pratyavayo Navidyate, that whatever little amount of service that we do in this life will be eternally rewarded and can save us from the most dangerous type of fear. And Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas say that the most dangerous type of fear is that I don't get a human birth in my next life. So it's a very, very special and important thing to get this human body. We were just talking about this recently, or was it in class? Were we talking about it? How valuable, anyway, this human body actually is. How much we should really appreciate that I've got it. I'm sure it's in one of the books we're reading at the moment, In Essence, or Sri Upanishad. Anyway, yeah. So if you get an animal body, if you see a tiger, don't be afraid. Just thank God, that poor soul in that body. Here in New York, everybody's got a dog. Right down here, there's like this, they call them dog runs. It's like, and you get like 30 dogs in there. It smells so bad. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Purushottam, or the best of all living entities. He is a person like all other living entities, but he is the leader or the best of all living beings. That is stated in the Vedas also. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. He is the chief of all eternals, the chief of all living entities, and he is complete and full. He has no need to derive benefit by interfering with the affairs of other living entities. But because he is the maintainer of all, he has the right to bring them to the proper standard so that all living entities may become happy. A father wants all of his children to become happy under his direction. Similarly, God or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has the right to see that all living entities are happy. There is no possibility of becoming happy within this material world. The Father and the Sons are eternal, but if a living entity does not come to the platform of his eternal life of bliss and knowledge, there is no question of happiness. Although Purushottam, the best of all living entities, has no benefit to derive from the common living entities, he does not have the right to discriminate between their right and wrong ways. The right way is the path of activities meant to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as we have already discussed. Svanushtatasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. A living entity may engage in any occupational duty. A living entity may engage in any occupational duty. But if he wants to have perfection in his duties, he must satisfy the Supreme Lord. So again, whatever it is that you do, just try to do it for Krishna. As such, one who pleases him gets better facilities for living. Interesting. But one who displeases him gets involved in undesirable situations. Yeah. I was just speaking with a friend of mine who's self-professed atheist, really, for the most part, and but I've known him since school days, and yeah, he's in a real suffering situation, and it's hard to say, well, that Krishna is punishing him because he was bad. I think that's the wrong way to see it or understand it. Of course, it could be taken like that, but the idea is that it's sort of like, if in life in general, the way that nature is made up is that if you theoretically eat healthy, then you'll probably be healthier. This isn't an absolute statement anyway, because I know many people who have drunk and have basically pickled themselves by drinking, and they're in their 90s and still seem very healthy.
And they say vodka a day keeps the doctor away.
Yeah, it's like that, this kind of thing. but my point being that in general, if you do good things to keep yourself going, like I was speaking to another friend who's in his 80s, and he was out weed whacking the lawn, with a strimmer. And I was like, I can't believe you're still doing that. He's like, no, I have to break it up now. It takes me 2.5 hours in total, but I do an hour and a bit and then another hour and a bit. He said, but it keeps me going. It keeps me healthy. But then you have people who just sit around on the couch eating potato chips, watching TV, and they wonder why they get heart disease, or they get obese, or they get diabetes, or they get all whatever other things. So the point is that Krishna isn't punishing us. The laws of nature are constructed in such a way that you're meant to do certain things, and if you do them, then naturally your living condition will be better.
Next paragraph. It is therefore concluded that there are two kinds of duties: mundane duty and duty performed for the sake of yajna or sacrifice. Yajna tat karma. Any karma activity one performs which is not for the purpose of yajna is a cause of bondage. Yajna tat karma no anyantra loko yam karma bandana. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed, otherwise work binds one to this material world. Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 text 9. Karma bandhana, or the bondage of karma, is administered under the regulations of the stringent laws of material nature. Material existence is a struggle to conquer the impediments put forth by material nature. The asuras are always fighting to overcome these impediments, and by the illusory power of material nature, the foolish living entities work very hard within this material world and take this to be happiness. This is called Maya. In that hard struggle for existence, they deny the existence of the Supreme Authority, Purushottam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Classic, isn't it? Even now we're sitting here and people rushing here, there and everywhere, Don't know what they're rushing for.
Except for the people who are sitting on the grass, not rushing.
Well, they rush to sit on the grass.
So I like that line. It says material existence is a struggle to conquer the impediments put forth by material nature. So being in a material mindset, being in the material world, it's a struggle, a perpetual struggle to somehow conquer perpetual impediments. Anyone ever noticed that? Please share down below. Next paragraph, I'm not sure we're going to make it all the way through. We probably could if we don't comment. In order to regulate the activities of the living entities, God has given us codes, just as a king gives codes of law in a state, and whoever breaks the law is punished. Similarly, the Lord has given the infallible knowledge of the Vedas, which are not contaminated by the four defects of human life, namely the tendency to commit mistakes, to be illusion, to cheat, and to have imperfect senses. If we do not take direction from the Vedas, but act whimsically according to our own choice, we are sure to be punished by the laws of the Lord, who offers different types of bodies in the 8,400,000 species of forms. Material existence, or the sense gratification process, is conducted according to the type of body we are given by Prakriti, or material nature. As such, there must be divisions of pious and impious activities, punya and papa. In Bhagavad Gita 7:28, it is clearly stated, Yesham twantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva mohanir mukta bhajante mam dritavrataha. One who has completely surpassed the resultant activities of the impious path of life. This is possibly only when one engages exclusively in pious activities, can understand his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus one engages in the Lord's transcendental loving service. This life of engaging always in the loving service of the Lord is called Adhoksaja Diya, or a life of Krishna consciousness, which King Prithu meant his citizens to follow. So, yes, interesting how it mentions that God gives us codes, and basically we're meant to follow those codes, just like a king will give codes of law. Our code is to follow the Vedas, to follow scripture, to follow knowledge that has been passed down to assist us and help us, that is coming in an unbroken disciplic succession, which is free from the 4 defects of life.
Next paragraph. The different varieties of life and of material existence do not come about by chance and necessity. They are different arrangements made by the Supreme Lord in terms of the pious and impious activities of the living entities. By performing pious activities, one can take birth in a good family, in a good nation. One can get a beautiful body, or one can become very well educated or very rich. We see therefore that in different places and in different planets, there are different standards of life, bodily features and educational statuses, all awarded by the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to pious and impious activities. Varieties of life therefore develop not by chance but by prearrangement. There is a plan which is already outlined in the Vedic literature. One has to take advantage of this knowledge and mold his life in such a way that at the end, especially in the human form of life, he may go home back to Godhead by practicing Krishna consciousness. Yeah, the point that stood out is that things are pre-arranged according to, not because there's a God that's mean and says you suffer and you enjoy, which is somehow people say, why did this happen to this one and don't happen, what's God doing? But it's actually fair, it's very a fair system, because according to what we've accumulated and done, we get that back. So if you think about it, it's an extremely fair system, and sometimes
Extremely fair, yeah.
No, because sometimes you go to like the shop or something and you buy something and then you're like, oh, they cheated me out of 10 pence, or I didn't get enough potatoes or whatever, like, but karma is such, you will get what you deserve, basically.
And you won't get what you don't deserve.
It's actually really fair, and people don't get that and can think you're being insensitive if you... I mean, you shouldn't say it like that, you got what you deserve. You shouldn't say that, but that's the system. And that makes this whole setup by Krishna very fair, very, if you think about it, you'll get out what you put in. Simple as that, Yeah.
Okay, so this is...
Teeny dog. Lord have mercy. It's like a rat on a leash. Lord.
Okay, last paragraph. And I'm getting bitten, I think.
Yeah.
The theory of chance can best be explained in the Vedic literature by the words agyata sukriti, which refer to pious activities performed without the actor's knowledge. But these are also planned. Agyata sukriti is also planned. For example, Krishna comes like an ordinary human being. He comes as a devotee like Lord Chaitanya. Or he sends his representative, the spiritual master, a pure devotee. This is also the planned activity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They come to canvass and educate, and thus a person in the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord gets a chance to mix with them, talk with them, and take lessons from them. And somehow or other, if a conditioned soul surrenders to such personalities, and by intimate association with them chances to become Krishna conscious, he is saved from the material conditions of life. Krishna therefore instructs, Sarva dharmam prityaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tam sarva papebhyo moksha yishami ma shucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you, not deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. That's Bhagavad Gita 1866. A person who surrenders unto him by utilizing the chance to associate with the pure devotee, spiritual master, or other authorized incarnations of Godhead, like Prithu Maharaj, is saved by Krishna. Then his life becomes successful. It's very interesting. Yeah, pure devotee or spiritual master, incarnation, or those three. Yeah, it means that if you have contact with Krishna and you're taking to the process in some, I would say, even semi-serious way, then you are empowered to help others. But we have to give our association to others. That's an art, how to give association without taking association. But it's also an art how to give the right kind of association that's required for the right person at the right time. Srila Prabhupada was very expert about that. I think you're just sharing and reading in Vishaka Devi's book, how Srila Prabhupada was able to interact with different people and just not be like judgmental or, like they handed him a book that she had written very early on in her life on photography, and it wasn't like Prabhupada said, this is all nonsense, this is in Maya, you should chant Hare Krishna and come out of the illusory energy. He was able to be nice and congenial, be a gentleman, and not be a kind of Bhagavad Gita basher or Bhagavatam basher and just, say, you should do this, you should do that. So, giving association means creating a space in which a person can exhibit and express love to you and for you, and you can also be there to express love for them, understanding they are a spirit soul trapped in a material body, and so are you, so am I, so are we, like that. Anyway, just a thought. And we finished the paragraph.
No, the paragraph, the purport.
Sorry, it was a long purport, in the last paragraph.
All
Thank you all
right.
very much for tuning in. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.